Welcome everybody to the HolloTalk Podcast. This is Jetpack Nick, and I'm here with a very, very, very special guest. This is Professor Bizup from Central Penn. This is one of my favorite professors. This lady's taught me so much in the classroom and out the classroom, and it is a pleasure to have her on the HolloTalk Podcast with me today. Say what's up to the people.
Hey, hello everybody. I'm so happy to be here with my friend Jetpack Nick on his podcast. This is my very first podcast, so I'm excited to be here.
I didn't know this was your first one. I didn't know that.
This is my very first time I've been on a podcast. Stepping up in the world.
No, absolutely. So I'm glad to have you on, and have you be the first person to have you on a podcast. So let's give a hand clap for that. No, but so for the people who don't know who you are, can you let them know who you are, what you're about, and what you do?
Okay, my name is Dr. Bizup. I am a professor. Actually, I'm the Dean of Health Sciences at Central Penn College. I teach general sciences, nursing, healthcare-related courses, and I run all the allied health, nursing, health sciences, healthcare management programs at Central Penn. I think one of my favorite things to teach is general education because I get to see and meet some of the best students, some of the coolest people, like our friend here. We met, I guess 3, 4, 5 years ago now.
Yeah. My freshman year.
Yeah, and was with you throughout that process. I just received my PhD in nursing education.
Let's go. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. In August. And what else? My background is in nursing. I was a nurse for 35 years. My last clinical work was in hospice nursing, which sounds difficult and it's challenging, but it was very rewarding. And then I moved into academia, and the rest is history, as they say.
Okay. So a very extensive background, a lot of different areas of expertise, right?
Yes. I've had a lot of different experiences, both in my nursing career and in education. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's been a great ride.
So you being the nursing and the academia profession, right? Is there anything that you like better than the other? Is it one that you like more than the other? Are they the same to you?
I don't know that there's one that I like better than the other. I loved hospice nursing. But I also love teaching. I love being with the students. I love getting to know them. There is nothing I enjoy more than a great discussion.
Absolutely.
For example, you remember in nutrition class, the day I kind of threw nutrition to the side after the events that happened in Virginia or West Virginia.
I think that was the Charleston situation.
Right.
South Carolina, I believe.
And said, all right, let's talk about this. You guys have a voice. Let's talk about it. And I really felt like we had a great discussion that day.
Yes, we did.
And my willingness to do that is something not all professors are willing to do. I like getting to know everybody. It led to a great event, our little heritage lunch.
Right, it did.
It was a lot of fun, but I love being around people who are coming up in the world and the new ideas and, the future of our country, the future adults that are going to be, taking care of me in my old age. But I love that energy. I love the energy and that I get from the students.
So real quick, to kind of like expand on the whole situation that like when Charleston happened, and we took some time to have a rally outside of the school and kind of give a platform for the students and whoever else felt the need to kind of just give up their their feelings and express those opinions to people. I think that you taking a step to allow us as a class to have like a similar thing, but just in a closed environment, just us and you, and you opening the floor for us to speak our minds and, you know, say what we were really feeling about what was going on in Charleston and even just in the world in general. I think that that allowed not only just me, but the rest of the students to connect with you more and become more comfortable, not only being ourselves and individuals and sharing our own individual opinions and feelings, but also feeling like it was respected from the person that we were supposed to be looking up to, which was you at the time.
Well, I really appreciate that. I think people often make the mistake of not giving that space to people, that respectful, safe space. They don't want to have the hard conversations. They don't want to listen to things that maybe they don't want to hear.
Right.
But when I left that class that day and walked back to my office, I felt amazing being able to do that. And I did feel like we connected because
Absolutely.
it wasn't a teacher student moment. It was kind of like, I'm gonna, bag class. You guys need to talk about this. It was a huge thing. And, yeah, they did the rally on campus and that was great. But when something like that happens, it's you can't just go to one event and expect it to go away or process everything that's going through your mind or everything you're feeling.
Right.
You need to continue to do that. It's a process, almost in a way like grieving, where it just takes time for you to figure out there's so much in your head, so much emotion, so much thought, so much confusion, that it takes a long time, and you need to talk through it to really start to make sense or wrap your head around what's going on. And
And oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
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 go
no,
ahead.
no, 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 no. Go ahead.
I was honored that you guys were willing to share with me that day the way you did. I thought that was, that made me feel like you guys respected me as much as I was respecting you that day.
Yeah,
But
and you know, me being in there, I think that I could say that that's 100% true. That, you know, you again allowing us to have that platform, we definitely felt the respect and the the understanding of how big the situation was with, you know, the magnitude of the situation. Like, you know, even though it wasn't happening right where we were, there were things that were happening similar to those kind of things, maybe on a smaller scale around the area that we were in, and whether it was in your face or it was, you know, subliminal situations, people felt it, and frankly, some people felt comfortable even being in that environment. And again, like I said, you making us feel comfortable and allowing us a chance to express those feelings and opinions, that set the tone for everything moving forward, which I guess if I had to put like a pin on it, that would be like the start of the relationship between me and you that we built from, you know, that class up until this point right now.
I think that those moments are important, though. College isn't all about me spewing facts to you and making you take a test and making you study. College is also about learning how to maneuver in the world, because the world is a crazy place.
Yes.
And you need to understand that things are going to happen that are just going to completely throw you for a loop. And that are, and that's part of what I think my job is as a professor, as a teacher, to not only teach you the subject matter, but to teach you and help you figure out how to work through these situations.
Yeah.
Because nobody prepares you for that incident or any of the incidences that have happened over the last 5-6 years, all the stuff that's been happening in the world. Nobody prepares you for a pandemic and being locked in your house for 6 months.
Nope.
So when I have the opportunity to give that give you that voice, I'm going to do it because that's going to help you survive in the world.
Yeah,
And
that's 100% true.
that's part of education. That's part of what college should be doing for students.
That I couldn't even have said it better myself. That last part is like the highlight of everything that you just said. And to kind of expound upon that, I think that that's like, and I feel like I'm speaking for every college student across the world, like, and saying this. That's the things that we look for from professors. Like that's the connection that we search for, and frankly, that's the disconnect when professors just I'm just throwing facts at you all day and I want you to do this test. And of course, like that's cool, that's the job. But like you said, in the things that happen outside of the classroom, us going to college and preparing ourselves for the life after school, those lessons are important too. And for me personally, that's the thing that I cherish the most in my college experience. Like of course, like, you taught me a whole lot about rocks and volcanoes and things like that. But like the conversations that we would have outside the classroom and like those things were things that I hold on to this day, and things that I feel like I can necessarily apply to my everyday life now and moving forward. So for that, I give you credit and say thank you 100%.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. I'm glad that you were able to feel that and take that away. I mean, I remember that environmental geology class. That was the year we had all those hurricanes back to back to back. And I
Hmm.
remember, I can't remember his name. He was from one of the islands in the Caribbean. The day he sat there and said, some of the islands are just gone.
Yeah.
And it's the whole room just kind of went, gone. Like who would have realized that that could happen? And I like making that personal connection. And I that's part of who I am. That's how I was as a nurse. That's how I'm going to be as a teacher.
So do you feel like you being a nurse kind of allowed you to have that space and capacity to be that as a professor, or that's just who you are as a person innately?
Um, I think my experience as a nurse has a lot to do with it. I think it's a little bit of both. Um, I was raised to be respectful of everybody and everything. Kind of a you have my respect and so you give me a reason
Right.
not um to lose that status. Um, but as a nurse, you often have to have some really difficult conversations with people or with families about patients' conditions, about their expectations. It's never easy to tell someone that their loved one is dying. And there is really nothing more we can do at this point. Um, and it gives you an opportunity to really connect with people on a little bit more of an emotional level. Um, I learned to appreciate quiet in a way where I learned to keep my own mouth shut at specific moments and just listen and let people be in the space they need to be in for right now. And I think that serves me really well as a teacher. I have kind of a sixth sense about people in a way that allows me to say, hey, you need to sit back and just listen for a minute. This person needs some space, needs to talk and just listen. And I think that served me really well because I remember thinking as I sat outside at the rally, I don't mean to keep going back to it, but I was sitting on the wall, listening to what everybody was saying. And that's when I had the thought that, you know, it's great the college did this, but these students need more. And you could tell looking around that there were students that had something to say, but didn't want to be on the mic,
Right.
didn't want to be saying it to everybody. And to be able to give that opportunity in a safe space. And I know you probably remember, I started with, these are the rules.
Yes.
You know, this is going to be a very respectful conversation. This is not going to, devolve into something out of control. Just let's have a conversation. And I know you and I have talked about this.
Yes.
We need to have more, especially today, conversations. People need to, it's almost like we forgot how to talk to each other in some situations.
In a lot of situations.
And I understand why people are angry about events. I totally get that. A lot of the events that have happened make me angry. But yelling and screaming and putting people in a defensive position is not going to accomplish what I think is the intended goal. But sitting down and having conversations like you and I had, how many great conversations did we have on Friday afternoons?
So many.
And it was just to talk to each other.
Yeah.
To hear each other's thoughts. It creates a common ground. So to get back to your question, yeah, I think nursing helped me, but I think part of it is a God-given blessing that I am able to connect with people.
Okay, so so I just want to take some time real quick to kind of like express how I'm feeling right now, and
Okay.
I know I'm on record and everything, but this is what I'm feeling. So this is the first time that I'm actually like looking at you in 2 years, probably, right?
Yep.
2 years, like since I last was on campus. And
Yep.
like, as we're sitting here right now and you was just talking about that whole experience, like I kind of felt myself getting like a little bit emotional, just a little bit, because like I just it just feels good to like be doing this again. And like I forgot how important it was and how much it meant to me. Like that this relationship is what it is, and the conversations that we have, and just the gems that I take from each time we talk. So I felt myself getting a little bit emotional. And you probably don't know this, but I'm gonna say it on record anyway because whatever, right? So when I left school, like I was cool. Like I wasn't, like super duper emotional about anything. But then I started like looking back at like pictures and things like that I took with people or whatever, because I was in media club and everything. So of course I had to take pictures and be in pictures. So so I was looking at like a lot of the pictures that I had taken with people, and we had taken like a picture together. We was, it was like in front of the class or whatever, and I looked at it, and then I immediately broke down and started crying, like bawling. Like I was bawling because I was like, oh my God, like like I'm really about to leave, and like leave all of these wonderful people who been a part of my journey in my life, and have added so much to me that I didn't have when I first stepped on campus in 2016, I believe it was. And me leaving in 2019, I was a completely different person. Like it was just everything just kind of hit me at once. But then just seeing the picture with you and just like, knowing the relationship that we built over that 3-year span, it was like, oh my God, like I started bawling. So now you know that story.
I remember the day you came to say goodbye.
Did you
It was
cry?
a tough day. It was a tough day for both of us.
Did you cry?
Friday, huh?
Did you cry?
Yes, sir, I
Yes.
did.
Yes.
I was happy to see you graduate, but I still miss Friday afternoons.
Me too.
I really do.
That was a long
That's
ass walk.
Well, I'm sorry that I'm down in the health science building there, Nick, but it's not that far. Really, it's not. I mean, seriously, you live in Philly. It's like 3 blocks.
I know, I know.
But um, I think one of the greatest rewards as a professor is seeing students grow during their time at school. It's kind of amazing to watch, the way our relationship developed, but to watch these students come in as, maybe unsure of themselves or angry or whatever, or trying to be super tough and watch them grow into these beautiful young men and women ready to embark on the world. That's one of the things I love about being able to have graduation,
Yeah,
is to see students that I had as freshmen that didn't have any confidence, that were unsure of themselves, walk across that stage after getting a college education. It's just, especially ones that had to work for it.
yeah,
Because there are some students that, kind of comes a little easier too. And then there are those that really have to work hard to get to that point. And it's just to cheer that on, like, you did it, way to go. I that is just the most amazing feeling for me. And I think there are other professors that feel the same way as well.
of course, of course.
In some ways you feel almost like a little proud parent, like this little teenager fresh out of high school came to college, and you watched him grow, and now he's leaving the nest. But it's it gives me the warm and fuzzies every time. And I wish more than anything that I could have had that opportunity with you.
I know, that's probably, and it's no fault of anybody's. That's just a fact of what the world is currently going
Mother
through.
Nature. Yep.
Yeah, but I definitely think about that often. Like I haven't even put on my cap and gown yet. Like, I've had it for 2 years and I've yet to put it on, because like
Well,
I was just
you're
like,
gonna
oh
have
my
to put it on
God.
and send me a picture, dude.
No, I am for sure 100%. But I want to make sure I get them like professionally done though, so they actually look, they look presentable.
Well, I think what you probably should do is find somebody that can, on the front of your cap, put your New York symbol on
Oh
there for
yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah,
Because otherwise,
it would look right without
it wouldn't look right without the NY on the front.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be
I got
you.
I got the Mets one on right now, but everybody knows it's Team Yankees over here.
I know your Team Yankees.
All
Are
the
you still
Yankees.
Team Raiders?
We're not talking about football right
Well, I just wanted to ask you about the coaching
Oh
situation.
yeah, we not. This is about me and you right now. It's not about the.
Okay. Well, I was going to get that in there.
No, I already know this. That you did that every Friday too. Always just crapped over my Raiders.
Hey, they started the season on fire.
We did.
I thought they were actually going to, finally had something that was going to work for them. And then
it all went to hell.
well, there were some things happen, and that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know why people have to be stupid. But as they say, you can't fix stupid.
There's a lot of unfortunate situations, but just send prayers out to everybody. That's all I could say. But getting back to this conversation though, this conversation of me and you, student and professor.
You're not
So,
a student
well,
anymore.
I'm always gonna be your student. Like when when
True.
mothers got their kids, no matter how old that kid becomes, that's always still their baby. Like no matter how far I've been out of school, I'm always gonna be your student. Things like that.
Okay. All right. I'll go there.
No, but I want to know. I want to know, like, because I know for me, I'm not gonna speak for every other student, but I know for me personally that when I went to college, like the only reason I really went to school, honestly, was because like I knew my personality and I knew that I needed to be in an environment where I could like make the most of it. Like, being around a bunch of, other late teens, early 20 somethings who are trying to find their place in the world or who may have similar interests as me. And I just knew I needed to be around people like that. And I also knew that I had like an ability to build, good relationships with people and build a rapport with people. So what I felt I needed to do once I got to school was do just that, build a rapport with people and build relationships with people. And I felt like I did that with, my fellow students, and I also felt like I did that with a lot of professors. Like, you're definitely one of my favorite professors, like of all time, favorite teachers of all time across any, you
Thank
know,
you.
in any level of school. And I have a few, people like that. Hopefully I can get them all on the podcast. But I also had that at school too, at Central Penn, and hopefully again I can get those professors on the pod too. But having that relationship with you all definitely provided me an opportunity to not only learn a lot more about myself than I would have just learning the 2 + 2 = 4, and this
Right.
rock is that rock, and like whatever subject I was in at the time. But building those relationships and having like real conversations about life and what I'm going through, whether it was personally or just things I felt that was coming once I got out of school, because I've never done that before. I've never graduated college until I did. Like,
Right.
you guys did. And, having that perspective be shared to me from y'all definitely helped me out so much. So my question that I have for you is, being a professor, did you feel that that was necessary for you to like, be all that you could be as a professor? Or do you feel like that's something that all professors should strive to do, or teach his own? What do you think?
For me, I think, yeah, I feel like in some ways, on the first day of class, there is a very different dynamic in the classroom,
Hmm.
and it's kind of authority. The students are out there. I'm standing in front of the class. They're looking at me like, I'm some sort of authority,
Right.
or I have authority. Um, and I think students learn better when you can humanize yourself.
Absolutely.
Um, when they're struggling, to be able to say, look, I went to college. I remember this. Let me tell you about my experience with neurology. When I was in college, neurology baffled me. Just couldn't get it. Years later, when I was working as a nurse, it started making sense.
Right.
I had to really work for that. And we're not all experts in everything. To be able to share that kind of experience with the students, kind of, it's like one of those moments like, yeah, I guess you did have to go to college to get where you are now and have these same experiences. Um, I think it makes it a little different for the students. It makes their relationship with me better.
Yeah.
They trust me a little bit more. But I like to think that on some levels, it helps them in all their classes,
Yep.
because then they're going to start to realize that all their professors, now we all know there are some professors that want to live way up here
Yeah.
and think that that's where they float above the rest of us. Um, but I don't want to be that professor. And I think being able to be human, being able to, something goes wrong in class, you just, oh shit, in front of 30 students, um, it creates a better dynamic for me and for the students. I mean,
Yeah.
you had me for class a couple times.
Yeah, I did.
So, I mean, would you agree with that?
No, absolutely. Like again, and I'm pretty sure I've said it like a lot through this whole, thing so far, but like the fact that you were like that in the classroom and out the classroom, like it wasn't like you were two different people, like that definitely helped like the what do I want to call it? The morale of the room. Like it definitely helped, to feel like, all right, if I raise my hand and ask this question, like she might be like, now that was a dumb question, but I'm still gonna answer. It's like it make it fun, make it fun,
There are no
immersive
dumb
and things like
questions.
that.
Remember that.
No,
There are no
I
dumb
know. It
questions.
was that was the only thing I could think of, but like, but just I meant like what I meant in saying that was like you made it fun and immersive, and you made everybody feel like comfortable to ask a question even if they felt like it may be a dumb question, or just say something that they felt that they wanted to say, or whatever. Like whatever the case may be, you always made it feel like it was all right to do so, unless it was something crazy. But regular stuff, everything was cool.
Yeah, we ran into one or two of those
Yeah,
situations, but you manage them the way you have to. You know, it when things happen in a classroom, like a student is being disrespectful or rude, best way to handle it is to diffuse the situation, get them out, and deal with it one on one with them later, because I don't want that to impact my entire classroom. I don't want my classroom to be that way.
right.
I don't like that tension in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with some of the topics that
Yeah,
I teach in some of the classes, they're challenging topics. So as it is, I don't need someone in the back of the room spewing crap, for lack of a better word. You know, you are more than welcome, if you don't want to listen to this conversation, to leave, and I will deal with you later.
right.
I'm not gonna get into the back and forth in the class. Because I like having that conversation. I love to talk and to listen to people.
Yeah,
Even if we're talking about, in holistic health, we talk about violence and abuse. That's a tough topic to tackle,
absolutely.
because I know that in that classroom, there's a high likelihood that someone has been in or is currently in a bad situation.
Right.
Um, but I don't need somebody in the back of the classroom, saying, well, she asked for it, or blah, blah, blah. Look,
Yeah, that's crazy.
you know, but there are people that,
No, yeah, for sure.
that's your opinion. You're entitled to it, but people who have lived that situation might not feel that way.
Right.
So, um, I'd rather either stop that in its tracks or get that out of the room so I can continue with the students, and giving them the opportunity to talk about some of these tough topics. Because I'm sure people that have been in bad
Oh
situations.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's a hard topic to talk about, but if I can give somebody a safe place, then I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about other topics, make it fun, make it interesting. I pick on my own life all the time. You were there.
Mm-hmm.
I love to share stories as examples.
Yeah.
So I think that's key to making college fun and to helping you learn.
Yeah, I mean, let me see. So, like, I know at least like for me, I'm like a person who's like outgoing. Like I search out, I search out help if I need it, or if I feel like I got a connection with somebody, like I don't mind, going the extra mile just to, see where it could go or what I could learn from it or whatever the case may be. But I also know that a lot of people like in that environment, when I'm talking about college environment, aren't necessarily that outgoing. Like they just stay to themselves, they stay in a room or whatever. And I mean that's cool sometimes, but me personally, I don't feel like you could learn all you need to learn or experience all that you need to experience like doing that or being kind of just to yourself or whatever words you want to use to describe that person. But um I would ask you as the professor, like, is there anything that you do to kind of bring those students out of their shell, or is it like any advice that you could give those students to make it more comfortable for them to feel like they can step out of that?
Students that are real shy or withdrawn, it can be difficult to draw them out in a class. I think they do better in smaller classrooms. Like I've had a couple of classes where I only had 8 or 10 students.
That's my favorite kind of class.
It's my favorite kind of class too, because you really do have the opportunity to get to know everybody. Um, but actually, I have found that if you can make them laugh, it relaxes them enough that they're a little more willing to participate. If you can get them to smile and get them to laugh, they relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And that cracks that door open just far enough for me to stuff my foot in there and try and get them to engage a little bit. That's what I use. I use humor. I don't like to use the old you method. You answer the question to get people to try and come out of their show, because that just puts pressure on them.
Yeah, seriously.
And then you ask a question and you point to the person who hasn't opened their mouth and is kind of curled up in a ball in the corner most of the class. They might know the answer, but they're not going to tell it to you.
Yeah.
You need to get them to relax a little bit, let their guard down just a little bit, and earn their trust. Most people that are like that for a reason.
Yeah.
So you need to give them the space and earn their trust a little bit. And then it's pretty amazing to see sometimes when they do come out of their shells, what amazing people they are.
Some amazing people that I'm pretty sure you've encountered, and like for that, right? So I know our relationship. I know that like I'm one of your favorite students, if not your favorite of all time.
You are my absolute favorite student.
No
one will ever replace you, Nick.
So for that, right? Like as a professor and having built that relationship with a student before, right? Is it challenging for you for when that student leaves and a new crop of students come in that you try to like try the same things on and try to see if you can build that kind of relationship with them? Like, is it hard for you to kind of establish that relationship with another student, or
students that I've developed a friendship with, it's kind of developed naturally.
Okay.
It's not something that I intentionally seek out.
Gotcha.
But it's kind of like, how did you make friends when you were a kid? It just sort of happened.
Yeah, you just
right?
Went up, talk to people.
Right. And there was some sort of connection on some level that you allowed to grow, and you developed a friendship. And I kind of look at the friendships I've developed with the students in the same way. For some reason, there was a connection with you and I.
Right.
And, a lot of people would say, oh, you shouldn't, and let it grow. Let it grow. It's not going to happen with every student. I may never have a friendship as tight as I have with you, with another student, but I consider myself lucky that I have you as a friend.
I feel the same way.
If it happens again, great, but I'm not gonna, go grab some poor kid by the collar and say, I need you to be my friend and come to my office every Friday and talk to me for an hour and a half, you know,
Yeah.
but those things happen naturally. I don't force it. I don't, necessarily seek it out in that way. For me, it's just something that connection just grows.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that question is because like it actually like extends further than just like this the school aspect of it. Like the reason I asked that question is because like as a professor, you only got a limited amount of time with this person, right? So whatever friendship that blossoms from the point that that person enters to the person that person leaves is like, all right, well, I only had so much time to do it unless like the friendship extends once the student retires, no, not retires but graduates but
No,
and
I'll
things
be
like that.
retiring soon.
No,
You
right,
just
right.
graduated, dude. You got some time to put in yet.
Yeah, but but like that also doesn't necessarily translate to like outside world. Like you can't necessarily prepare yourself to be like, all right, this relationship is going to end or this friendship is going to end at this certain time, so I know I got to do this, that, and the third in this allotted space of time to get whatever I want to get out of it. And people don't become prepared for when those relationships end abruptly. Like at least like in school, I knew I had 2, 3, 4 years to be cool with all these people and these professors and these students or whatever, and hopefully I made a good enough impact to continue that on. But hopefully while I was there, I made my mark. And outside of that, you don't know what the time span is. It could be a month, 2 months, and you'd be like, damn,
Right?
this was the best friend I ever had. And then next day, they're not there anymore.
I'm a firm subscriber in. I don't know if you know this, the saying about friends come into your life for a reason, for a season,
Hmm.
or for a lifetime. Um, we have those friends that come into our lives for a reason. Somebody that we connect with for a specific thing that suddenly for 6 months, a year, 2 years is like your bestest buddy
Right.
because you have that connection. But when that connection is lost, the relationship kind of drifts apart. A season would be like those students that I developed a friendship with maybe during their time at Central Penn. And as soon as they graduated, it was like, see you bye.
Yeah.
They were there for a season. And then there are those people who are friends for a lifetime, where you might not talk to them for 3, 4 years. You reconnect and it's like you were never apart. Those lifelong friends. You don't need to talk to them every day. You don't necessarily, but the minute you connect, it's just like, oh snap, this is
Right.
wonderful, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't worry about it if a student who has confided in me or whatever, I've developed a relationship more than a student professor relationship with, more of a friendship. If when they graduate, they need to move on,
Right.
I understand that. I'm not going to get, yeah, it bums you out a little bit, but they need to go and lead their lives now.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I the reason I asked that is because I feel like for people that's a tough thing. Like people become so attached to other people. It's like once that time is over, for you to be in that person's space or in that person's life, it's like the world just ended. And a lot of people don't know how to bounce back from that. They don't know how to be like, all right, well now I got to kind of start over again with somebody new or like a new crop of people. Like,
You know, with friendships, I don't. if I'm in a relationship and if that person leaves and I just fall apart, I'm way too dependent on that person.
And that's a problem.
And that's my problem.
Oh, that's true.
That's not their problem. I am giving way too much of myself
Right.
or identifying way too much of myself with that person. I'd rather subscribe to, and maybe I'm delusional, the thought that they have moved on maybe to bigger, better things. I don't get angry. I mean, I miss them. Obviously, I'm human. That's
Right.
kind of normal. But they need to live their lives. I need to live mine. And I'm not the kind of person who becomes dependent on others in that kind of way. Where I have a handful, 3 or 4 of really close friends that I would be devastated if they disappeared. But we also have friends that are not like the people, if the shit really hit the fan, it'd be one of those 4 people that'd be scraping me up off the floor, right?
Yeah.
But then we have all those other people that we might have a friendship, we hang out, we do whatever. If they kind of drift in and out of drift through your life, I'm not gonna. That's just not me. That's what you need to do. You go right ahead and do it. I'm fine. I'll do my thing.
Yeah.
So, now,
Yeah, I know.
I consider you a friend.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I would be upset. I would miss you terribly. I'm not going to hunt you down and make threats on your life or anything like that. With my true friends, I honestly believe sometimes you need a little break and then you come back.
That's true. That's important for people to know. Definitely.
I know you and I don't necessarily agree on 100% of things, especially when it comes to sports.
Not supposed
but,
to.
But that's what makes us unique and individuals.
Exactly.
But I know that you and I can talk about anything.
Yep.
I don't think there's any topic that would be taboo. We've talked about politics. We've talked about what's going on in the world with racism and violence and some of the other craziness. We've talked about relationships. We've talked about the only thing, I don't know that we ever talked religion, but I
don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
We don't have to, but you and I love friends that I can have a conversation with. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you agree all the time.
Right.
It's okay to disagree respectfully.
They say, there you go. Respectfully. That's the key word.
That's who I am. You can disagree, but you have to do it respectfully. Because just because you might think this way and I think this way doesn't mean that I should lose respect for you.
It's 100% true.
We're unique. I don't know if you knew this.
Oh,
one of the students in the media club interviewed me. This was a couple of months ago, maybe a year ago. They were doing a thing about we're doing all these diversity trainings, and it was kind of like your thoughts on a bunch of different topics. Filled out a questionnaire, and she asked me to do it. And one of the things I wrote, it was about interacting with different cultures. And one of the things I wrote about is that I so appreciate being able to interact with all the different cultures. because each of them represents a thread woven into a beautiful tapestry known as the world. And you take one thread out and it's not as beautiful.
Right.
So we need to remember that everybody is one of those unique threads woven into the tapestry of our society. We're all beautiful. We're all necessary. And we all need to be together next to each other to make a beautiful picture.
I couldn't have said none of that better myself.
And, I wish, and sometimes you're going to have a green thread next to a yellow thread next to a blue. It doesn't matter. When you put it all together, that's what matters. That's what's important.
Man.
So it is all about respect. That's why I keep going back to, we need to learn to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And have respectful conversations. Because if people really want to make it a difference in this world, this is what pissed me off about Washington so much. All these guys getting paid $1 bazillion, standing up there screaming at each other. And I'm just like, would you just shut the hell up and sit down and talk to each other? And stop yelling and screaming and drives me crazy.
So I want to change gears just a little bit, right? So I'm pretty sure the listeners are gonna want to know about a professor's own college experience as a student and then transitioning into college again as a professor. So could you tell me like what the differences was between, like just your whole college experience as a student, at, Villanova, of course, shouts out to Nova. But like your whole experience as a student at Nova and then transitioning into college again as a professor.
I think my experience at Villanova was very similar to students today. I went to Villanova fresh out of high school. I was anxious and nervous at first, wasn't sure. I was kind of shy as a kid. I know you wouldn't believe that I was shy and quiet, but
No, I believe it a little bit.
I was in high school kind of shy and quiet. So getting to college was a big step. I had very similar experiences with success and failure, as most college students do. I wasn't happy in my original major, so I ended up on the 5-year plan.
What was your original major for the people?
Pre-med.
Okay.
I was in pre-med. I wasn't doing as well as I knew I had to do to get into medical school. I wasn't sure that's really what I wanted to do anyway. So halfway through my sophomore year, I had changed majors to nursing. So that's how I ended up on the 5-year plan. I didn't graduate with the people that I had started college with.
Right.
I graduated a year later. I got to get to know some more amazing people, but it was all good. I think I had a typical college experience. Lived on campus, lived off campus, a little too much alcohol. Kind of came out of my shell quite a bit. Made some great friends. And then all of a sudden you're graduating college and you're just kind of like, oh crap.
Right.
Took me a long time. I went back to school in 2009 to get my master's. And then from there, started at Central Penn. And then while being a professor, I was also a PhD student.
Yeah.
And that experience was just brutal. It's worth it in the end. Can't believe I'm saying that, but they're right. It was worth it in the end. But I would say it's kind of typical. There were moments that, I wanted to quit school. There were moments that I felt like I was on top of the world. I think it has to do with that time in your life as a traditional student. From 17 or 18 to 23, 24,
Mm-hmm.
wherever you are in that group, that first experience of independence, that first taste of freedom, and succeeding and failing, making huge mistakes, and figuring out that you're going to survive when that happens.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to what students experience today. Biggest difference between my experience and students today is they wind up with a lot more debt than I did.
Don't even get me started on that.
I was lucky enough that the day I was born, my dad started putting money away for us because before we were born, were told we were going to college. There was no choice.
Gotcha.
So, I didn't really have to incur a lot of debt to go to college. And what I paid for my entire college education is about 1 year's tuition right now at the same school, which I think is crazy. But I'd say it's very similar to what a lot of the students now, you're leaving home for the first time. You worry about what's going on at home, especially if you had younger siblings, or there was a situation at home. My father was an alcoholic. I had two very young sisters at home, and for the first 2 weeks, I was just a mess.
Right.
What's going to happen? Who's going to watch out for him? But you learn that it's going to be okay. You can keep in touch. You can still have your life and still be a part of theirs. But I know a lot of people have the same experience. I know you had a similar experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you're like, what's going to happen? But in the same way you did, you went out, you met people, you made friends. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's that much different. Just costs a lot more now.
No, that's true. I actually didn't expect you to say that it wasn't going to be a lot different from the time that you went to school to like, kids going to school now. I honestly didn't expect you to say that.
I look at the students on campus and I see myself a very long time ago in them, making those first mistakes, learning they call it adulting now.
Yeah.
Learning how to adult the first time. I see a lot of the same things. I see kids who feel the same way I felt. Same successes, same failures. So I don't know that it's that much different. The world has changed, yes. But I don't think the humanity of being a college student and that era in your life has changed so much.
Gosh, I mean, you still go party, you still go,
Well, that is part of college, my friend. I could tell you some stories. Oh,
you could tell me off the record. I don't want to get you in no trouble.
I won't get in any trouble. I'm legal now, so it doesn't matter. I can't get you for something you did, 40 years ago. So.
No, yeah, like I said, I honestly didn't expect you to say that because, just thinking about college for me, like I was chilling. Like I really ain't do too much, like in school for real. Of course I went to a couple, a couple functions. I went, I hung out with a couple different people and things of that nature. But other than that, I ain't really get into too much craziness. Like I was I had a pretty smooth college experience. I mean, it was turbulent at sometimes. Like, I ain't gonna make it seem like I had the perfect college experience. I mean, it was turbulent. It was, it was turbulent
Yes, I know.
sometimes.
Yeah, I know it was turbulent sometimes. Usually it had to do with anyway.
Yeah, right. Don't get me in trouble on this spot.
I will not. But you know what, Nick? I remember you saying something to me. It was your last term or second to last term
It's
that you
my
really
best
felt
time
you needed to step out
for sure,
and do some things.
for sure.
And it was amazing to see you in the play, The Bridge.
Yeah, I'm
It was
happy I did that.
amazing. It was amazing to see you explore that part of your talents.
Yeah, I'm pretty talented,
Yeah, oh, here we go. But it was part of your growth process.
It
And I
was.
think that really proved to you that you could do it.
It did, and just to even speak about that time in school, like I'm pretty sure I've said it on the podcast because I've talked about college numerous times, but I'll say it again if I didn't say it already. Like I could have graduated earlier than I did. Like I could have graduated with the class that graduated before my class, but I stayed in college for an extra 6 months because I just knew I wasn't ready to leave. So like I took less classes and was like, all right, if I take less classes, that means I'll stay a little bit longer, and that's fine. So I decided to do that for that reason specifically. And I can honestly say that those 6 months or whatever that equates to terms, however many terms that was honestly my best time in college. Like for a lot of different reasons, but the fact that I was able to do what you just said, which was kind of step out of my comfort zone a little bit, even though like I was acting in a couple plays in the beginning, then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just be behind the scenes with it, but I was like, nah, let me get back on this stage and do my thing. And I was in a whole lot of different activities. Like I did the highway cleanup. I was in a couple of different internships, a couple of different clubs. Like a whole lot of stuff. I feel like I like in that 6 months I did way more than I did in that previous time before that 6 months. So and that definitely was a lot that I took on, but it was like you said, it was worth it 110%. It was 110% worth it, and I got to talk to you more, so it's a win-win.
Through that, however, you were late for a few classes.
I mean, at least I showed up. At least
Good
I
point.
showed up. That was the important thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I can say that 6 months was very pivotal for me because if I would have left and graduated at the time I was supposed to, I wouldn't have been ready at all. I was in shambles at that time for again a lot of different reasons, but that 6 months I was able to gather the pieces back up, put everything back together, or put it in a way in which I wanted it to look, and here I am right now.
But that was the time that you grew the most.
Yeah, absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, I don't know if I ever said this to you, but I was so proud to see you get out there
Thank
and
you.
do these things and express yourself and kind of spread yourself out a little bit, interact with the world, interact
Hmm.
with people. And to see how much you grew in that those last couple terms at Central Penn was amazing. I mean, it really was amazing. And I'm so glad I got to be a part of it.
And I'm glad you were. I'm glad you were a part of it because if you weren't a part of it, it wouldn't have been what we're talking about it to be right now. Honestly.
I would agree. I'll never forget the look on your face when I showed up at the play.
I know. Listen.
You were
Because
like,
you said it was gonna come, but like everybody say they gonna pull up and don't really pull up, but you really pulled up, and I had to show out.
You did amazing. That was actually a very nice evening of watching the play, learning a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that play taught, I think, everybody quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
It was a great night. I'm glad I got to see you. Sorry I never got to meet your parents, but the look on your face
it's cool.
when I showed up
You
that night,
meet
you
them
were
soon.
just like, Bizup.
I can't wait to get you a big hug and everything.
Yes.
No,
I thought
yeah.
you were gonna cry, but
I mean, I just, I don't tell nobody. I did that after the fact.
You gotta remember, crying is a sign of strength, not
for sure.
weakness.
For sure. Big muscles.
All right, dude.
Nah, yeah. So I'm gonna get ready to let you go, but before we go, I got one more thing for you. And I do this with everybody for the most part. But if you can give the listeners 3 gems from this conversation that they could take away from and apply to their everyday life, what would the 3 gems be?
The first one would be to respect people. Second one would be to learn how to talk to people, have a good conversation. And I guess the third one would be both of those things need to come from a place of love.
Okay.
My philosophy of nursing, all through my career, bachelor's, master's, PhD, they always want you to write a philosophy of nursing, and mine is always very short. And it goes like this: to take care of someone, to really take care of someone, you have to love them just a little. And that's kind of my philosophy for life.
Can you explain that one for me?
If you care, it comes from a place of, if you really are going to care for someone, you have to love them a little bit. You can't be angry. You have to be respectful. You have to be honest. You have to be the best you can be. And what you're doing and thinking and feeling needs to come from your heart.
Gotcha.
So whether you're caring for a patient, caring for a student, caring for your family, giving the homeless guy on a corner a sandwich, it's got to come from a place of love.
Okay. I listen. I'm even for me. You got me kind of speechless right now. But I definitely feel that a whole lot. Doing things out of love. That's one of the things I try to do, because I've seen it. I've seen where it can get me. Like I've seen how it affects people and how it makes people feel about me as a person. Like everybody's perception of me or anybody is what that is to that person, but hopefully, people genuinely feel that the love that I give to them is genuine and they're accepting of that any way that they can be accepting. Because everybody's not accepting of love and affection and things like that. But at least I hope you you in general, but you too. I hope that you all feel the genuineness and the true love that I have for you all. You better not cry when you get all this.
Nope.
All right, well, this has been another episode of the HolloTalk Podcast, and thank you, Professor Bizup, for coming on and talking with me. It was the best.
You're welcome, Nick. Anytime.
I love you, appreciate you, and thank you again. I also want to say thank you to the HolloTalk Podcast listeners and supporters for supporting us through and through each and every week. It wouldn't be nothing without you guys. And again, Professor Bizup, thank you so much for this. And hopefully, we can have you back on soon.
I'd love to. I love you too, Nick. You take care.
All right, you too.